Tom, what the fuck?
What?
We fucking said Nikes, and you knew that. You know that. Nike
Man,
uniform.
all I got is Adidas. You don't know how much these cost me? That's all I got, bro.
Were you even listening at the meeting?
Oh, man, you know Doe's voice. It's like my grade 7 English teacher. It just puts me to sleep. Don't you hear me snoring in the back?
Yes, furiously. It sounds like you're sawing logs, but that's not the point. Did you at least remember to wear all black?
Oh, you know me. I'm like a 2003 emo kid. I'm always wearing black.
All right, whatever. All right, everyone, pull them out.
All right, here we go. Pulling out the old bald shape.
All right, everyone, eat your applesauce and drink up.
Well, at least we're not, going out sober.
Once again, Tom, you completely missed the message of the group here, but yeah, you're right, I guess, technically. Just fucking drink it, would you please? Stop staring at it and savoring it and just fucking drink it.
Holy shit. We fucking made it.
I didn't want to say anything before when we were back on Earth, but I kind of had my doubts, but turns out right on the money. Huh. Ooh, buttons.
The only weird thing is, though, man, it kind of feels like I got an empty coin purse underneath my dick.
Oh, you know the bus fare we always carry with us?
Yeah, the quarters?
Yeah. Can you guess where mine are right now?
Oh, shit. Really?
Hell yeah.
I guess you'll never forget them now.
No, they're always with me.
What the fuck?
What?
That motherfucker's got balls!
You son of a bitch.
Well, he wasn't right about everything. I got no balls!
Yeah, at least I'm on a spaceship.
Let's get into it.
We'll title this tape Planet Earth About to be Recycled. Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us.
And cut your balls off. Chance to evacuate is to leave with us.
Yes, Doe. Whatever you say, Doe.
He repeats himself a lot.
It's because the message is important, Thomas. Tom Doe.
Okay. Welcome to the most cringiest podcast out there.
We so cringy, we make your mama cry.
Welcome. I am Tomcat, a.k.a. Tom Thompson, a.k.a. the Reptilian. And who do we have on this very, very special episode?
Oh, Anton back in the house. What's up, everybody?
What's going on? All right, so we're going to get into our second cult that we've ever dived into, Heaven's Gates Cult. But before that, we want to gather all the hose heads together in patriotism and go on Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review with a very nice review, even if you don't listen to us on there, because some goofs are coming out of the woodwork to smite us and say that we don't pronounce words properly, which he may be right about that. But we're not supposed to be some crazy intellectual podcast. We are drinking and smoking weed and talking about strange serial killers, true crime, aliens. It is supposed to be fun, and if you don't enjoy us or we offend you, all you have to do, it's so simple. You just press stop, and then you just stop listening and you go on about your day.
Yeah, just hit the unfollow button, hit the, Just don't listen. Just don't listen at all.
And if you love us, we love you. We got a lot of fans actually coming out of the woodwork to support us, sending us messages, emailing us. So we appreciate all those fans. All the people that listen to 1 or 2 episodes and like, man, this is so cringeworthy. Well, go fuck yourself and turn it off.
And to all of you that do love and support us, please go out and rate 5 stars. It helps us get into more ear holes. It just brings a message to more people. And a message is for demon people. Not really. We're just a couple of assholes getting fucked up talking about weird shit, but it's fun. And if you like it, please hit that 5-star, hit the like and share, all that shit. Thank you. What the fuck is that, Tom?
It's filled with gin and tonic. I literally have one of those huge measuring cups with 4 cups of gin and tonic in it. I mixed it.
So, dry January, ladies and gentlemen, is going real well for Tom. We know he gave it up.
It probably won't come out till
2 weeks.
February, but 100%.
But it's January right now, bitch.
It
went the end of it.
It went for 2 weeks. But I survived 2 weeks of it, and now I got a big thing of gin and tonic. It is delicious, bro.
Hey, cheers to that. I thought I was ridiculous with my oversized mug of coffee, which has whiskey and Irish cream in it.
Nope, I have literally a liter cup full of fucking gin and tonic. I just spilled it on myself.
Fucking Canadians in your measurements a liter. Who even knows what a liter is?
I actually love gin and tonics right now, man. Love them.
One of my best buddies is really into gin right now too. Well, one of my best buddies besides you, baby.
Oh yes, you're my best friend. All right, so this is gonna be interesting. Marshall Applewhite is a fucking nutbag. The way he talks with his eyes open is extremely scary. I'm convinced. We'll get off the hop. I'm convinced he's an alien himself. I know he claims
he very well might be. Yeah,
Just the way he talks in his eyes, it's fucking shifty. Strange stuff. So, a friendly and happy, caring, Christian, and devoted husband, father of 2, walked away from everything to create a cult, and his name was Marshall Applewhite.
To be fair, he didn't necessarily walk away from it so much as his wife threw him out for banging another student. He banged 2.
What's Eminem's real? Isn't Eminem's name Marshall?
Marshall. Marshall. I think isn't it Marshall Mathers? Yeah. Or is that another pseudonym for Shady?
Yeah, Marshall Mathers. Yeah, and Marshall Applewhite. Heaven's Gates was a strange group of even more. Heaven's Gates was a strange group, even among the bizarre New Age beliefs that were popularized in the 1970s. A time when a generation of free spirits, hippie freaks, and vagabonds were leaving their old religious beliefs behind. Heaven's Gates was the first cult to go high-tech. It had a website before most traditional businesses actually did. He used that website, too. That's how he brought people in, because everyone was like, wow, look at this website.
I got it pulled up right now. Yeah, it's by today's standards, it's awful.
Yes,
it's not a good website, but I mean, by back in the day standards, it's also awful because who the fuck puts green text on black background? That's just eye burning. I feel like they've softened the colors a bit. Now it's a lot more in pastels.
But it was like that pages. Site, that Bibliotheca Palladius site is like that too.
Yeah,
and I've used that for research.
Most paranormal sites are break the golden rule of the internet, which is don't put green text in a black background because they're all just like, but I love the X-Files. Like, we all love the X-Files, okay?
All right, so yeah, the Heaven's Gates they were first to go high-tech. It had a website, and its beliefs were miraculously spacey, involving aliens, UFOs, and talks of ascension to the next level. Visitors to the website were not quite sure what they were reading, if it was actually a joke or not, especially back then.
Well, so many religions,
Wild
or
West.
at least cults, start out sounding as jokes, or it's more just like using an idea that sounds absurd to test the waters of, are you into this? Do you buy this? Yeah. Is this something that you're interested in? And any group that can take themselves semi-humor with a spoonful of sugar to be semi-humorously in their views is arguably much more accessible than a group that's like, adhere to these things, you have to live this way, you have to do this. It's like you kind of ease people into that, because Heaven's Gate is the same.
Scientology.
They have a very stringent way of doing things, but they go about bringing you in under this illusion of, well, we care about you, and we want to help you, and we want to do this. And for many people, maybe it did help them. Obviously in Heaven's Gate, it's, spoiler alert, I don't know how much improvement you get out of, that, but...
And this is like the Wild Wild West of the internet, man.
This is the early days. It's the early days. It's pre-Silk Road days, too. Yeah. It's like, you still can't even buy drugs on the internet yet.
It's fucking crazy. So the cult borrowed much from Christianity, as Applewhite claimed to his followers that he was able, that the cult borrowed much from Christianity, as Applewhite claimed to have been able to save his followers from Lucifer. Applewhite, luckily, was the reincarnation of Jesus.
Just like David Koresh.
Yep. I'm a fan of the Koresh. People don't like that, but I don't know.
I fully.
I don't know.
I'm the first person to sit here and say that what the ATF did was not legal. They broke their own law and it was fucked up. But I also wouldn't put it past them that maybe he was having some sort of inappropriate relationships with some of the younger people that were in his congregation.
I just don't know if they made that up. Well, that's go back and listen to our me and Billy yell about that.
It's a solid way to immediately discredit somebody because anyone that would come to their aid and be like, well, I think that's made up. They'll be like, oh, you're supporting that? Yeah. Okay. Good to know about you. It's like, no, I'm just raising questions.
No, I don't. Trust me. I'm not supporting children fucking, please. I'm not supporting it. Okay?
You're not Justin Trudeau. You're not supporting that.
Yes, so it was a combination that provoked laughter and ridicule more often than it convinced people to join. But you just need a couple, just a few, and they tell their friends.
Dude, they got ridiculed hard on some of the message boards, too. It was pretty funny.
I couldn't imagine, man, the way
the one dude was just like, because they would post to like Star Trek boards and shit, because they were all gigantic sci-fi nerds, which, my peeps. And, like they posted to one Star Trek board, and one of the person's response was simply, "Yeah, and what's the point of posting this on Star Trek? What is this? What the fuck?"
You don't want to join our cult, though, bro?
Yeah. Well, no, we're tying it in. They're like, no, wrong place, bud, wrong place.
You know what?
Wrong crowd, wrong audience.
We will succeed when we start a cult.
Dude, did you see a sidebar? Fucking those 30 Seconds to Mars cucks with fucking Jared Leto have their own cult island.
Do they? I heard about that, but they actually got their own island now?
Yeah, dude, they got their own island, and you can pay like $5,000 or something stupid to go there and like bang people in the band or some shit. I don't know. It's all internet conjecture, but I hate Jared Leto, so I figure, it's entirely possible.
I hate him almost as much as I hate Tom Cruise. Also,
worst Joker ever.
Marshall Applewhite, the son of a Presbyterian minister, was born in 1931 in Texas. Known for his musical talents, his jazz hands, just joking, he developed an interest in opera and attempted to become an actor. So he tried, and we'll get into it, but he was tiptoeing in the tulips, you could say.
Yep.
Tiptoe through the tulips. His dreams didn't work out. He pursued musical careers at universities instead, acting as a music professor in Houston. In 1970, he was allegedly fired from his job as a music professor at Houston University of St. Thomas because of an alleged affair with one of his male students.
You don't have to say alleged. That shit happened. That's documented. That happened.
Definitely sucks some cock.
I mean, it's kind of Applewhite's whole big thing is he just wasn't cool with the fact that he was also into dick.
Yeah, and you definitely was.
The one book that I had read that was talking about him constantly listed him as a bisexual, and I don't know, that kind of like pissed me off a bit, where I was like, I guess because he had a wife and kids at one point in time that he could be listed as that, but I don't know. I mean, obviously we're all speaking conjecture here because the only person that would have known this was Nettles and Applewhite.
Well, yeah, did he enjoy when she? Yeah, but they we'll get into it, but they weren't a fan of sexuality, and yes, that's why 6 of them had no yobbles. Yobbles.
Well, here's the other thing though, is like, was Applewhite one of those people who just explored sexuality and was truly asexual in his own mindset, but like he was like, I'm not happy in a relationship. So there was another big thing about him is that he could never find contentment in any sort of physical relationship. Yeah. So I think that was one of the things that led to, his philosophy and his outlook on just life and the world in general.
That's true. Through Applewhite.
The incel.
Yeah. Well, they know what happens to them. They go shooting people. Or maybe killing them with fucking poisonous drinks. Though Applewhite and his wife were already divorced by that point, he apparently struggled with the loss of this job and may have even had a nervous breakdown. Imagine what his nervous breakdown would be. I don't have a clip of it, but for the YouTubes. But man, Applewhite with fucking hair is weird. I thought he was weird bald, but him with hair is even fucking stranger.
As a young man, he's not unattractive. Like, I'm not talking that weird little swoopy hair that he had in the 80s or the 70s or whatever. I'm talking like when he was like 19, 20. Like, he didn't look that weird, but he got much weirder and weirder as, time went on, for sure.
That's for sure. A couple of years later, he met Bonnie Nettles, a 44-year-old nurse with strong interest in biblical philosophy and prophecy, as well as a few lesser-known spiritual beliefs. And it is, I heard on the doc that I was watching that, her and her daughter, like Bonnie Nettles' daughter, would like look up at UFOs, and they always talked about being picked up by a UFO and how great it would be to like leave the Earth. And I'm not gonna lie, I've had those thoughts too.
Yeah, most people have had those thoughts, and I'm guessing if you're listening to the show, you're one of those people too. But it doesn't mean you go and start a fucking religion over it. But hey, if that's what you want to do, by all means, fucking you do you.
I know, it's just crazy. Imagine if Heaven's Gates became the Scientology that we know.
It could have happened if they would have had, a charismatic leader such as L. Ron Hubbard that was there to screw over everybody and, steal a bunch of people's monies. And Scientology, fuck you, don't sue us.
And that's eventually coming on the podcast, but that's going to be a big one.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Big one. So while the true story of how Applewhite and met Nettles remains kind of murky, they don't really know how they actually met, supposedly. Applewhite's sister maintains that he entered a Houston hospital with heart trouble and that Nettles was one of the nurses who treated him, and they had their love story came alive.
Yeah. It's truly one of the most romantic things that has ever happened to a couple of psychopaths.
Yep. Apparently, Nettles convinced Applewhite that he had a purpose and that God saved him for a reason. Alternate reports say Applewhite had checked himself into a psychiatric hospital where he met Nettles. He's like, I don't know who I am anymore. Aliens are talking to me in my head.
Yeah, he was known to have voices talking to him in his head. Obviously, he frequently talked about having depression, which stemmed from his failed marriage, his lost career.
Yeah.
The fact that he just couldn't come to terms with the fact that, he really enjoyed dick, which, who doesn't?
And Applewhite himself would say that he simply was visiting a friend in the hospital when he encountered Nettles. Regardless of how they met, Applewhite would later recall that he felt that he had known Nettles for a long time, and ultimately concluded that they had met in a past life, which I know your theories, and I know you believe in coincidences and stuff like that. One of my
I'm not
beliefs,
saying everything's coincidence, but I'm just saying, yes, I 100% believe that coincidence is a very real thing, and it does happen.
One of my beliefs, though, I do think that supposedly, with all the research I've done, the books that I've read, it's convincing that the people that you meet in this life, you've already had around you in past lives. Like even people like you work with in another life, they could be your sister or your friend, and that these people now in this life are kind of connected to you, and you see them throughout your life in different ways. Like, who knows? Me and you could have known each other in a past life. Me and Billy we could have been brothers. We could have been lovers. You could have been a girl. I could have been a girl. Like, it's the thing that souls, right? In my belief, it's weird because we're talking about Heaven's Gates, is that, so I don't believe souls do have really a gender that you can. Here, I believe in biology. That's one thing I do believe in this physical plane. But that the fact that, like, in other earthly realms, you could reincarnate as a woman, as a gray alien, maybe. I don't know, as a reptilian. You could, in my opinion, anything is fucking possible.
Well, if that's the case, yeah, sign me up, please. Fucking get it right the second time, assholes.
Yeah. We were married in a past life. We were Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles. It'd be funny if it was.
God, don't say horrible things like that.
I'm just joking.
We couldn't be. We were both born before they died.
That's what I was joking about. I was like,
it's like people that are like, I'm the reincarnation of Kurt Cobain. It's like, you were born in 1991. Shut the fuck up.
So strange, man. There's a lot of strange people out there, and I'm one of them.
So we love all of you strange fuckers.
Yes, we do. So Nettles' story was a bit different, actually. She said that their meeting had been foretold by extraterrestrials.
Yeah, I mean, that was her background, though. Like, Nettles was super obsessed with aliens. And I think I feel like that a lot of that comes from a dissatisfaction with her own life. I don't know what it was, if she just needed something more or if she was truly dissatisfied with her own life. But she certainly had really escapist fantasies.
That's true.
Which, again, who doesn't? But
I know. And regardless of how they met, Applewhite would later recall that, that he just feels that they've met a long time ago and that, there's some connection there. And, and he started to, and she probably fed these ideas, these grandiose ideas in his head that he was a Jesus figure. And he even says he was reincarnated. He was Jesus.
So the one or the mind that was in Jesus, what? That mind is in me? You'll have to decide that for yourself. I must admit that I am here again, that I'm here saying exactly the same thing that I said then, trying to say it in today's language, trying to hope that for your sakes you can see what we have to offer you, for our Father offers you life. I'm not talking about human life. If planet is about to be recycled, and we see the planet as a stepping stone, planet Earth a stepping stone, that just as within a civilization evolves upward, that each segment of civilization becomes more civilized, less barbaric in some ways. It's supposed to, not that it necessarily does. Sometimes it seems to appear to be more civilized when in fact it becomes more barbaric, more quick to condemn the rest of the world, more quick to kill the rest of the world that does not think as it thinks. Well, I know what I just said. I said that I am the return of the Son of my Father. I'll tell you something that's even more remarkable. My Father came with me this time.
I just like how he's like...
Sorry, man. Doe's voice always puts me to fucking sleep.
Just how he's like, what? Yeah. I am we said at the beginning this part.
He phrases it as a question in the beginning, and then at the end it's just like, guess what? I am.
This
like,
part.
Yeah. You understand that Hebrew, the word God in Hebrew means I am. Okay, good for you.
So the one or the mind that was in Jesus, what?
What?
What? Honestly, it's just part of me does like I researched Heaven's Gates when I was like 15. Like I've been into this stuff for a very long time. Yeah. But I can understand partly why people might have followed him, and then till a point where like this guy's as soon as he's mentioning cutting off your balls, and it's like, all right, this shit ends here. But the way he does talk, it is an amalgamation of a lot of different things, because it reminds me of all these different philosophers and stuff like that, and people that speak out even now. It kind of reminds me of some of the shit that fucking David Wilcock says. That I get why people would follow along with this shit to an extent.
All small groups like that have very similar messages. At least that's been my experience through researching them as well.
David Wilcock is not a small group, motherfucker.
I'm not talking about Wilcock. Just David Wilcock is a fringe minority. Okay,
literally, we all are.
But yeah, so many groups that I think that's primarily those that are of Western origin. I mean, they're all drawing from the same well. They're all drawing from New Age spirituality and Christianity, and there's only so many variations upon those that one can build. So a lot of them are going to have overlapping thoughts and theories and ideas about the way things are. Christianity being the biggest death cult in the world currently still. Yeah. So
what about never mind. I was going to say one of the biggest. I think all religion is culty, but some sections of certain religions, Christianity is a big one, Catholicism is too, but even Muslims, man, if you're a fucking
Abrahamic faiths,
God damn it,
be considered death cults.
If you're a fucking woman and you just want to fucking be a woman and live your life and maybe not get abused by your husband, you get like acid thrown on you.
Well, there are progressives even amongst all worlds, or all worlds. There are progressives amongst all worlds. There are progressives amongst all religious communities. Yeah. Unfortunately, they are often the minority voices in most of these communities, because you got to figure most of these communities are based on thousands of years of tradition, which is bullshit.
I don't trust religion, but I trust some of the people that trust religion because they're not. Nobody is bad. There's a lot of people that are bad, but there's nobody like in the religion aspect of it. People just they're trying to follow what they think is right.
Yeah, I don't trust anything that's beyond questioning.
Yes.
If you tell me that I can't ask these questions, or that I just don't have enough faith to find the answer to these questions, then whatever it is isn't for me.
You know how to end every argument? You just say, "Follow the science." Follow the science. Okay?
No, Tom. Hey, look. Alternatively, we on the other side of that fringe community often say what? What phrase? Follow the money.
Cult leader? Yeah,
follow the money.
Follow the money. And follow the cult leader. Which, honestly, to be honest, in my country, too, our fucking PM, the Prime Minister, Mr. Fuckdo, is pretty
More
much...
like a BM.
Yeah, he is pretty much like a cult leader. The way he sees himself is incredible. Someone who has, if you don't agree with you don't agree with me, you're not Canadian, because I am Canada. I am Canada.
Anyone who follows party lines that heavily is a cult member. Mm-hmm. Because you shun anyone who has a different opinion than you.
Yes.
You cut off outsiders because they don't feel the same way, but that's totally different.
Yeah, and that's
story for another time.
Yeah, another time, because if you can't question science, guess what? It's not science. It's not science. Science.
Science.
All right, so Applewhite. By 1973, Marshall and Nettles were convinced that they were two witnesses described in the biblical book of Revelations, and they were gifted higher-level minds than other people, and they would prepare for their kingdom of heaven. They wrote a pamphlet describing how Jesus had been reincarnated as a Texan, implying that fucking Applewhite was Jesus. Before long, UFOs were added into the mix. And, definitely he loves his UFOs.
Now, most of the illustrations of extraterrestrials these days have been grotesque. Looked like giant insects or slimy reptilians or eyes so big that you could fall into them. And an extraterrestrial that we say is a genuine extraterrestrial is not a fallen angel, is not a space alien. We see fallen angels and space aliens as synonymous.
Ding, ding. He mentioned the reptilians, bro.
Yeah, you popped a chub over that one, didn't you?
Oh, I fucking love it, bro. I love it. All right,
so I'm sitting here looking at the original flyer for Heaven's Gate. And it's UFOs in San Francisco area. Why are they here? Who have they come for? When will they land? Two individuals say they were sent from the level above human and will return to that level in a spaceship. UFO. Within the next few months, this man and woman will discuss how the transition from the human level to the next level is accomplished and when this may be done. This is not a religious or philosophical organization recruiting membership. However, the information has already prompted a number of individuals to devote their entire energy to the transitional process. If you have ever entertained the idea that there might be a real physical level in space beyond the Earth's confines, you'll want to attend this meeting. Monday, August 25th, 8 p.m., University of San Francisco, McLaren Hall, room 252, 2130 Fulton Street.
Come to our fucking convention.
Punch and pie will be served.
Yes,
excuse me, we're under the impression that there will be punch and pie. We ain't got no goddamn punch and pie.
UFO conventions are hilarious, though, man, because people just pay for like booths and stuff. Well, I've told you about the one
convention smelled bad.
Yeah, we went to one with the UFO, and there's one guy. You definitely know that he paid for his booth, and then he just put up pictures of clouds, and he was like, "This cloud's a UFO that disguised themselves. This cloud's a UFO. You can see because you can see the outline." He's going off and giving us me and Chelsea shit, and I'm like, all right, like I do believe that UFOs have cloaking technology to make you see a holographic image, maybe, that look like a cloud, but this guy was looked like Neil Young on crack.
Fuck Neil Young.
Yeah, 100%. So, Applewhite Nettles began to call themselves Bo and Peep, him and her, Doe and T, and also Guinea and Pig. Which somebody
I thought you were gonna say Guinea and Wop for a second. Be like, dude,
no.
Italians are people too, Tom.
I know
They're horrible people.
The Guinea and pig line always makes me laugh because that's what 90% of Canadians are. Oh, burn! So, sometimes they even went as Winnie and Pooh and Tiddly and Wink. Like, some of their names for each other are so stupid.
Do you think do you think Applewhite ever gave Nettles his chubby little cubby all stuffed with fluff? It's a line in the Winnie the Pooh song, you piece of shit.
Is it actually? Oh, yeah.
Chubby little cubby all stuffed with
I think Applewhite had probably a pencil dick. I don't know, I always get into dick conversations.
I really hope that Applewhite had like a 14-inch dick that he just was like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
That would make the castration that much funnier. Be like, bro, are you serious? Like, you could have had a really good life being an awkward, weird-looking dude in porno.
I know. When me and Chelsea were talking about this, she's like, "Oh, it looks so weird if you got castrated." Because I'm not here to brag, but I do have big balls. And then she's like, it would look, you know, your dick sits on your big pillows, and then it would just look so empty. It would just look flat. Now, thanks.
We go through this every time you bring this up, Tom. That is testicular cancer. Go get checked out.
I know. Size of eggs, they say. So there was
Son of a bitch.
There was a platonic, sexless partnership. So they didn't really, as far as they say, they didn't really have sex or anything. I wonder why. And keeping this kind of aesthetic lifestyle. And they would come to encourage amongst their followers, be like, you know, like a lot of cults. This is one, because a lot of cults, well, man, there's one that specifically that we're eventually going to get into that is very disgusting. And Children of God.
I was going to say, are we talking Children of God? Because that's the worst one.
Yes.
That and the Nexium cult are also equally horrible.
I watched a doc on that. That will be... All those were... Like, we haven't touched too much... After 200 and some odd episodes, we haven't really touched too much on cults other than just, like, mentioning them. But this is when I told you we're going to start getting into bigger topics and more elaborate episodes on stuff. And, you know, that this is actually a cult for once... A lot of cults, they're like, you know, you can't have sex with each other, you know, leave out the sex. But you know what? I'm the leader. You can have sex with me, though. Everyone have sex with me.
That is one of the separating things of Heaven's Gate from other cults. Yeah,
everything.
You're on the money
Every
with that.
cult, almost every cult. Jones. Jim Jones. Fucking David Koresh. Children of God. Even Nexium. Like, there's so many. Shit. Yeah, so many.
I will qualify Epstein as a cult. Like...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's get into how they recruited their followers. So Applewhite and Nettles wasted no time advertising their new cult, despite how disorganized it was at first. Before they gave presentations, they would distribute posters that often promoted a bizarre mix of conspiracy theory and science fiction. They published advertisements for greetings where they recruited their disciples, whom they called the crew, quotations. At the events, they purported to represent beings from another planet, the next level, who sought to participate for an experiment. So they sought out people to join on their strange experiment. They stated that those who agreed to take part in the experiment would be brought to a higher evolutionary level. And that's even in his talks. He's like, oh, what's all this doomsday stuff? If you're an intelligent being, you wouldn't really think about that. And he's like, you know, that it's weird to talk about evolution when we're talking about God and stuff like that. He literally mixed so many different ideologies in one thing.
Well, if you take a whole bunch of bullshit and you sprinkle in some sci-fi and you add a couple facts here and there or things that are not disprovable, you get, you know, a successful cult. You get an ideology that you can brainwash, not gullible people, because I feel like that's almost a disrespectful term for these people, but like seekers, for lack of a better term, because that was the word that kept coming up over and over in the book that I read, which was Heaven's Gate, America's UFO Cult, which was solid, but it was definitely presented in a different way.
Really?
Than
I was looking at that, but it was long, so I was like, I don't know if I was able to fit it in because I have Audible credits. Yeah. So on
Audible, it's only like 9 hours long. So if you have the time at work or whatever, you can just burn through it.
I've been listening to the real Anthony Fauci, so that's for a fucking rant episode. Shout out the Patreon, www.patreon.com/strangebrewpodcast.
Strange Brew.
So, and this is interesting. This is why I have a soft spot a little bit for Koresh, because people like Ill Bill, a rapper, talks about him and his detailed and how he changed his name and the details of his story that maybe most people don't know.
He was banging a 76-year-old.
Yeah.
What a fucking freak.
Koresh is a very interesting character, just as Applewhite is. So, they say that those who agree to take part would, they would go onto this evolutionary level. And in 1975, during a group meeting, like, this took a long time. They built this up for fucking 2 decades, right? About 70s, 80s, to up to the 90s.
Well, it ended in 97.
Yeah, almost 3 decades.
Weird synchronicity. I remember what the hell I was watching. Oh, I was at when I was at Electric Avenue yesterday playing pool. I glanced over, and then we take it higher. Yes. Also, that song is on the jukebox, but heaven help you if you play it, someone will hit you.
Stupid.
But they had one of the TVs on, and it was some quiz show. They're like, this comet came around in 1997. And of course, being balls deep in research for this, I was like, oh, it's Hale-Bopp. Duh.
What? And we'll get into some stuff about that later. It's going to be
a fun little synchronicity.
So that is really weird, actually. In 1975, during a group meeting with 80 people in Joanna Culpepper's studio, city home. Man, that's a great name. Joanne Culpepper?
Culpepper?
Yeah.
That name sounds super
I know,
familiar.
it does. What is that
not
from?
in regards to this, but...
No, it's something else. There's someone else named Culpepper. I think it's a singer or a musician or something.
Yeah, or like a character's name in a movie or something.
So they shared their simultaneous revelations that they had been told, that they were given witness to, supposedly, and yet these invitations were undeniably eye-catching. The word UFOs would often appear in big letters at the top, with a disclaimer at the bottom. Not a discussion of UFO sightings or phenomenon. Stupid. So the posters usually claimed 2 individuals say they were sent from the level above human and will return to that level in a spaceship UFO within the next few months. And they kept saying that. That's a problem. Nothing really happened until 1997, but you motherfuckers were claiming this shit in the 70s.
Well, so
a few months, a few years, 10 years, maybe 15.
I mean, here's it from the horse's mouth for Doe's intro right off of the Heaven's Gate website. What our purpose is, the simple bottom line. 2,000 years ago, a crew of members of the Kingdom of Heaven who are responsible for nurturing gardens determined that a percentage of the human plants of the present civilization of this garden, Earth, had developed enough that some of those bodies might be ready to be used as containers for soul deposits. Upon instruction, a member of the Kingdom of Heaven then left behind his body in that next level, similar to putting it in a closet, like a suit of clothes that doesn't need to be worn for a while, came to Earth, and moved into, or incarnated into, an adult human body, or vehicle, that had been prepped for this particular task. The body that was chosen was called Jesus. The member of the Kingdom of Heaven who was instructed to incarnate into that body did so at his father's, or older members, dick joke, instruction. He moved into, or took over, that body when it was 29 or 30 years old, at the time referred to as its baptism by John the Baptist. The incarnating event was depicted as the Holy Spirit descended upon him in bodily form like a dove. Luke 3:22. That body, named Jesus, was tagged in its formative period to be the receptacle of a next-level representative, and even just that tagging gave that vehicle some unique awareness of its coming purpose. So they borrowed heavily from the New Age idea of the Christ consciousness, which is the whole idea that Christ was not a person, but merely an energy.
Yeah.
Which is a very Gnostic way of thinking.
There's a UFO abductee. I can't find his shit anywhere, but I used to use his talks, some of the clips of his talks in my hip hop songs, my rap music. And his name was George Calavicius, and he was an Australian UFO contactee. Very intelligent dude in the way he spoke, and it always drew me in when I was a teenager. And he would talk constantly about the Christ consciousness, and a lot of UFO abductees do. So maybe they know something that we don't.
Well, so the Christ consciousness thing is almost exclusively a Gnostic view. Mm-hmm. So anyone that takes a more orthodox view of religion, Christianity especially, regards that completely as heresy, and that no, Christ was a person, was not a idea or a thought or an ethereal being.
You know my views. I don't fucking know, bro. Why was fucking Horus the same shit? Born of a virgin mother. Wow, or Horus, it's Horus. I think it's not Osiris. But
it's not even just Egypt, though. That theme occurs throughout most ancient texts.
So weird. So, yeah, this is funny that he was so, he was so religious when it came to stuff, and that's why I could see that he was like, yo, you know what? I keep having these urges for men. I got to cut off my balls, and maybe I won't have those urges anymore.
Look, as somebody who was raised in the Christian church, like heavily in the Christian church, as many of our fans know, I'm sure I've ranted about it several times. It is a very difficult thing to find yourself being like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, I know.
Why am I this way? And then you overcompensate for it and trying to make up for it by just being like, okay, well, I'm just gonna fuck everything.
I've told you about my Ned Flanders uncle, right?
Yeah.
And how I have an uncle that's like gay. So, and I've said the only thing I don't like about him is he's super liberal and seems to love injections, and trusts big pharma too much.
A really big part of that, and I was just speaking from somebody that's a member of that community, is if you have differing opinions from the status quo of whatever the community's ideas are, it's very isolating.
Yeah.
Like beyond just going out and like getting laid and shit like that, like you can't really having even mildly conservative views in the gay community is not something.
Yeah, I know, and
it's going to make your life easier.
And the fact that my Ned Flanders uncle, like pretty much like the real Ned Flanders, he looks like him. He's super Christian. He loves his brother, his gay brother, but he thinks that his brother is making this choice and that he's not actually gay. It's crazy.
Do you know how damaging that is to a person? Like, I can imagine that his brother, that might be one of the reasons why your uncle has such a hard-line leftist stance, is because he just views that everyone on the other side of the political spectrum is like, no, you're just, you know what, it's your choice, you know, well, and that's why people have an issue with, like, libertarians from that side as well, because they're just like, well, that's your choice to live that way, and we respect it, and we support it and stuff, but then even just uttering that it's a choice, because it's not.
But I know. But my uncle Chucky is actually pretty dope. He's very funny. His name is Chucky. He's a funny guy, but he's also extremely against what's going on because he is religious, and a lot of religious people see this as like, what the fuck? You can't even go to church?
Dude, I never thought that I would. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I never thought in a million years, because I was a very radical leftist when I was a kid, like very much so. And I never thought in a million years that I would be speaking of an opinion that I'm like, guys, let's stop picking on the Christians. Yeah, that's one of my favorite pastimes. One of my favorite pastimes is mocking religious people.
Yeah, because I'm not at all. I've never been left, right, or anything. I just have certain views on the earth and the way it is, what's going on, and how the fact that, there's people at the top that are controlling the little people at the bottom, and that shouldn't be happening, and people can do whatever they want as long as it doesn't harm anybody else. That's
where I'm at with it. Yeah, it's at the end of the day, I want people to be free to make the best choices for their own lives. Yeah. I don't think that anyone, apart from someone going out and physically or psychologically or any way issuing harm or malice on another human being, I don't think that should be okay. Yeah. You shouldn't be able to rob somebody. You shouldn't be able to hurt somebody or kill somebody. No. You should be able to defend yourself if that person wants to come at you. Yeah. And you should be able to live your life however you want, as long as you're just.
Everybody love everybody.
To the best of your abilities and not harming anyone else.
So when they were going through all these pamphlets and stuff, right, at the bottom, it gave a date and a place, and September 14th, 2 p.m. at the Bay Shore Inn in Waldport, or so it's like, come meet up here and you can hear us talk about Jesus and UFOs. So in 1975, Bo and Peep received national attention after they gave a successful presentation in Oregon. So in this presentation and others like it, Applewhite Nettles promoted Heaven's Gates, then called Human Individual Metamorphosis. Too long. Or Total Overcomers Anonymous. They got the anonymous name before Anonymous did. It's like the book from Val Valerian. If you ever looked up into Val Valerian, Jesus Christ, that guy knows some shit. I want this book. It's really hard to find. It's called The Psychosocial Chemical Biological Manipulation of Human Consciousness. So Vinnie Paz in his first album of Jedi Mind Tricks, that's why I got the tattoo. Where is it?
Every tattoo you show is the wrong one.
I know. This one, the Chinese symbol, which it means rich, but also means spiritual rebirth in the I Ching. But that
it means I like dick.
Yeah,
is what it means.
When he did it, he's like, we named our first album this, and he's like, in retrospect, it's called this, they call the label as the psychosocial now, but he's like, in retrospect, it's a very long name for an album. The psychosocial chemical biological manipulation of human consciousness. Like,
it's a long name for a book too.
I
What the
know.
hell would you call it? Name an album after that?
So Val Valerian is someone who is a lot of people really don't know about, but that guy is on some crazy ass UFO shit and knows some stuff that he claims. If you hear his, I've never even seen what this guy looks like, but I've heard audio of him talk, and he talks about, he's like, I don't believe things, I know things as fact. And he's like, how much I know, and that's why it's like, I don't know.
I don't like that.
So, with promise that a spaceship would come and whisk the cult members away to salvation. But first, they had to renounce sex, drugs, and earthly possessions. How many cults do this? Many.
Most of them.
Many cults do this. It's fucking crazy how many cults actually do this. Almost
the one that
every
they
cult.
generally allow is sex, though, because I feel like that's another way to keep everybody in line. If you're allowing them at least one outlet for vice or happiness, then
yeah.
So,
so in some cases they need to renounce their own families. Jim Jones, which that's a huge one. I'm excited to do Jim Jones, but this all relates to other cults at the same time we're talking about this specific one because they all kind of relate in their own ways, and that's why they're cults.
Right.
So only they could be elevated to a new world and better life known as Tila, the evolutionary level above human. So an estimated 200 people attended the Oregon event. Oregon, how do you like to pronounce? I don't know.
Oregon, because Oregon sounds very close to Oregon Energy, or Oregon Energy.
You're right.
So Oregon, or I just call it, the surrounding area of Portland.
It's true. While many in the town thought it was laughable at first, at least a couple dozen people were interested enough to follow up with the cult, saying goodbye to loved ones in the process, writing into the Bible stories of the end times. Written into the Bible stories of the end times. Though this grassroots approach, the founders of Heaven's Gates cult were able to pretty much convince people to leave their homes and earthly belongings behind, following the group for about 2 decades. Like I said, the cult members didn't have a real home. Many of them maintained their anonymity. Yeah.
So cringy, Tom.
So cringy. God damn.
How dare you mispronounce a word that you've just read?
I know. And I'm on my fucking 4th gin and tonic, so everybody go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself.
So that night on CBS Evening News, Walter Cronkite. That's the way the cookie crumbles.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Reported that the group had disappeared. In one of the first national reports on developing religious groups, a source of persons have disappeared. It's a mystery whether they've been taken on a so-called trip to eternity or simply taken away.
One of those people identifies themselves in the exit video, too.
Yes.
Or in the exit interviews. The one, I can't remember what their name was, but...
In reality, Applewhite and Nettles had arranged for the group to go underground. From that point, Doe and T, as two now call themselves, led to nearly 100 members across the country, sleeping in tents and sleeping bags and begging in the streets. Yo, we should start a cult of the homeless people. We'll get all the homeless people to come together. And we'll give them drugs.
You can't get that much schizophrenia and drug use to fucking be on the same page as one another.
We'll have an army of fucking drug addict homeless people.
Look, as somebody who traveled the country as a bum for a hot minute, I've met some people that have tried to organize gangs of homeless people, and I promise you it never goes the way that you want it to go.
You ever seen bum fights?
Of course I've seen bum fights. You remember when that dude went on Dr. Phil dressed as Dr. Phil?
Yeah. So
good.
He mocked him
so
like
good.
crazy.
Yeah, he just trolling the fuck out of him. I love it.
So funny. As the members moved across the country, they recruited others into the religion. The crew used numerous methods of recruitment as they toured the United States and proclaiming that they were the gospel of a higher level of metamorphosis. And, and essentially they were kind of against these humans of, false gods. and they were enveloped with the sunlight for meditative healing, and the divinity of the UFO too. So Bo and Peep. Throughout the late 70s and early 80s, as their belief system developed around the cult personalities, membership grew. Some psychologists agree that the popular movement and alternative religious experience and individualism found in the collective spiritual experiences during that period helped to contribute to the growth of new religious movements. And the biggest help of that in the very early 19th centuries was Aleister Crowley.
Crowley took a lot of religious movements that already existed, released most of the hidden information through his own publications, most of which made him no money at all.
Yep.
And then just threw in his own seasoning of whatever the fuck bullshit he wanted that best fit his shit. That's why we credit him as one of the leading progenitors of chaos magic. But Tian-Do took, to go back on the biblical aspect of Tian-Do, they viewed themselves as the two spoken of in the book of Revelation.
Yep.
So that was the whole proselytizing and traveling while preaching thing, and they fully believed that they would be cut down in front of everyone and then resurrected to show as a show of demonstration of their true power. Because the idea shifted in Heaven's Gate. When it first started, and it was the evolutionary level above humans, you just said their name.
What?
The original title of Heaven's Gate.
Oh, the evolution. The fucking goddamn it! Let me. Oh fuck! I just went past it. The human individual metamorphosis, or the Total Overcomers Anonymous.
Total Overcomers Anonymous. Thank you. Yes. So they believed that those two would be the only two that would be cut down, and then everyone else would be able to have their physical bodies still, and they would actually physically transform. That death would not be required for anyone other than Tian-Do. Yeah. And then after following, skip ahead a little bit to following the death of Bonnie Nettles due to brain cancer, that's when things started to be revamped a little bit and be like, maybe we do have to die. And that's when the cult really started taking its turn towards its eventual culmination.
Yeah, I'm excited for the next cult, you know what I mean?
The next big cult?
I don't know what that would be, but it's going to happen.
The COVID cult.
Yeah, it's COVIDians.
The Branch Covidians.
So
unfortunately, the ATF is a part of the Branch Covidians, so we're not going to see a raid on their compound.
And actually, we're recording the day that I was supposed to be in Ottawa to, help with the trucker convoy. My buddy's going there to cook burgers for all the truckers. And you know what? Freedom starts with people standing up, and I believe in it. And if you don't support this, it's awful.
Let's say this in tandem too, Tom. Fuck you, Tim Hortons. Go fuck yourself.
100%. I told Chelsea I'm boycotting them, so never going to Tim Hortons again. Actually, I'd rather go to
fucking. Their coffee's been trash for the last fucking 5 years anyway, so who cares?
I would actually rather go to
Dunkin'?
Starbucks. Starbucks actually said they supported fucking some shit or something like that recently.
Well, Starbucks also just recently got hit with a unionization, so good for all of you that went out and unionized.
Yeah, they have a cult fucking symbol as their coffee symbol. It is a cult symbol.
I'm not fucking disagreeing. I'm just saying I don't care.
Many of Applewhite's and Nettles' crew hailed from obviously diverse backgrounds. Most of them are described by researchers as having been long-time truth seekers. This is why people get lost in this stuff too. Or spiritual hippies who had long since believed in attempting to find themselves through spiritual means. I have in my long notes of episode ideas, one I have is hippies didn't do shit. Because they didn't.
Hippies, they're all around me. They want to save the world, but all they do is smoke pot and smell bad.
They didn't do anything.
Hippies were useful idiots. So that's going into the whole Laurel Canyon theory and the controlled opposition theory of the 60s, that you had a group of people that were starting to radicalize and be like, no, we're not doing this. We're not playing these fucking games. And the government was like, okay, here's a bunch of drugs and weird music to fucking trip you all out.
100%. And I do believe, and I eventually want to get into it because we have talks in the works that's already ready to go is talking about like the Bloods and Crips and stuff like that. Before we touch upon that, I want to talk about the Black Panther movement, because I actually did believe what they were trying to do, and this was in the middle of kind of the hippie revolution. But I did have that, and I think it might be a Patreon episode, so join the Patreon if you want to support us, because eventually I think the hippies don't do shit episode should be or didn't do shit episode should be on the Patreon. Because it's,
for sure,
it's an interesting case. So, however, remarkably, many of some of the, the same researchers note that all of Applewhite's crew were hippies recruited from far left alternative religious backgrounds. In fact,
I was going to say, jumping back to interrupt for 1 second. Yeah. Diverse backgrounds, diverse, my ass. That was nothing but fucking weird new age honkies. That's it.
I bet, there's no gay people in that shit. Maybe there was.
Well, there's no sexuality in that shit. There was a gay person. There was a gay person leading the fucking movement.
It's true. And I never saw one Hispanic or black person in there.
So I'm saying there are no people of color. There's no POCs in Heaven's Gate. No. It's all a bunch of weird fucking white people that come from pseudo-Christian backgrounds that all hit around the same time as the beginning of the New Age movement. Which the New Age movement in and of itself is basically, the 60s failed.
Yep.
Your revolution failed.
Yep.
Because you are all just too fucked up to actually do anything and organize in any real way.
Yep.
So what do? You're now a disillusioned seeker who has spent the last 10, 15 years, most of your formative years from the age of, 17 to 20, whatever, searching for this utopia, this bohemian dynamic that never existed and would never exist in the form that you tried to make it. Now, you being disillusioned with everything in life, you're going to go try and find something. That's why so many Christian movements spawned out of the hippie movement. Yes. So many neo-Protestant Christian movements are like the Christ consciousness, and we believe this. And then other people went full tilt on the other side and went full radical to be like, okay, well, if that's all wrong, then maybe hardcore right-wing Christianity is the only true way to go.
And then there is the problem, too, with propaganda doing certain things for certain groups, like right now, how, they claim the trucker convoy was it's a white supremacist. People even in live feeds of it being taped today, of people at it being like, white supremacist movement. Yet there's a lot of colored people in the background, and a lot of people, black people, Hispanic people. There was even a Sikh movement of people that I think you must know who Jagmeet Singh is.
There's a lot of Sikh truckers,
and they're saying fuck you.
You see the symbol on the back of so many fucking trailers,
and you say fuck. They say fuck you to Jagmeet Singh because he doesn't represent their ideologies, and he's this Sikh guy that essentially wants to convert all of Canada to some radical movement, and it's sickening to see this type of propaganda being used. And like I said before, that propaganda is actually it's easy to use propaganda on people, and it's more relevant than it ever has before. Like it ever has been. Propaganda is more easily to manipulate people than ever in history right now.
Well, in the United States, up until I want to say the mid 2000s, it was actually illegal. There were policies put in place that was like you can't use propaganda on their own citizens until post 9/11.
Until Obama came in.
Yeah.
Obama changed it.
I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to take that and throw it out the window. And we're going to let the companies do whatever they want. Hey, watch me make this shot.
However, remarkably, many of those same researchers, like I said, these people had very religious backgrounds. And in fact, one such recruit early was John Craig, as a respected Republican running for the Colorado House of Representatives at the time of joining in 1975. As the recruit numbers grew in the pre-internet days, the clan of UFO followers all seemed to have one thing in common. They had communal belonging in an alternative path to a higher existence without actually having any institutionalized faith. They kind of just, this is a bunch of, as I said, a bunch of stuff pushed into one thing,
Yeah.
So let's get inside of Heaven's Gates. So
let's get deep inside Heaven's Gate. Let's get so deep in that we're feeling Bonnie's tonsils. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. So it was a radical movement, but the choice encompassed the spirit of the decade. Many were giving up conventional lives, and they have started seeking new spiritual answers to old questions. With most cults, like I said, they left behind their family and their friends. Applewhite told the initiatives that in this videotape of the introduction that we played kind of at the beginning is parents do not possess the offspring they have. It is a very evil thing for them to think that they are theirs and that they are product of theirs and property of theirs. And
I agree.
Yes, but also at the same time, that is kind of true. If I came into my woman and my woman pushed you out, fuck you, you're my property, and you're not the property of the goddamn state.
You're not a property of the state. You're not a property of the parents either. You are now a living, breathing, thinking organism. You are the that is your responsibility.
Yeah.
But that is not your property. That is a very, that's the reason why so many people ran away from the farm in the old, American stereotype is because farmers would
I don't want to fuck my cousin Jenny.
No, not even that funny. Son of a bitch. Farmers would just pump out kids after kids after kids after kids because it's free labor.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Which, there's nothing wrong with making your kids pitch in and making them help out. If anything, that instills values and self-worth. Like, you're doing that kid a favor by being, like, if you're ruining their life and running their life and being like, you can't do anything else other than be on this farm, then you're taking it too far. But if you're like, hey, you have responsibilities, I want you to learn the importance of, sticking to a task and understanding that you have responsibilities and understanding that there's shit you don't want to do, but you have to do it because it's a part of life to do it.
It is crazy. And the people that believe that, even shout out if you guys have never heard of Beast 1333, an amazing rapper that is cued in with the things that are going on, very intelligent, and has done more research than I've ever seen any other rapper do when it comes to conspiracy-based mind thought. And he has a song called Property of the State, and how you are a property of the state. You are controlled by the state, and they control you. And even in New Brunswick, they caught on tape one representative of the government on the street saying you're like when they're talking about the shot and how children need to get it and stuff, and he said when he was walking by to these parents protesting that he's like, your kids are property of the state, and the guy's like, what'd you just say? What did you just say? And he pretty much admitted that, like, yeah, your kids are our property.
See, back in like the 20s and the 30s, a politician would not dare say that because a mob of people would grab that politician and string them up from a fucking lamppost.
That's why I said if Trudeau existed in the 60s, something.
Damn, buddy, that thing is almost empty.
I know. But guess what? I feel fine. It's not pure liquor like it usually is, so. As if abandoning their families and all their money wasn't enough, members were also expected to follow incredibly strict rules, including no sex, no human-level relationships, no socialization. Oh, sounds familiar, COVIDians. But it is the idea that they wanted to prepare themselves like they were already on another level, like they were already picked up by the UFO. Like that's what I've heard and saw in some of the docs I watched, that they weren't allowed to socialize with people outside of the cult. They wanted to. They're more or less claiming that they're being prepared for this.
Well, that's a staple of all cult beliefs, is that you have to isolate from the outside world. Like that's one of the criteria of being labeled a cult.
That's how they condition you.
Yes, that's a massive part of conditioning.
A few members, including Applewhite, took this to the extreme by undergoing castration. Along with dressing alike.
Dude, those haircuts, bro. Those fucking haircuts.
Some of them had, like, they more or less, like, shaved some of their heads. But if you see some of the footage of them, like, they're, like, in a van driving around and talking about how we don't have contact with the outside world, they all have, like, bowl cuts.
Yeah,
it's fucking
a lot
weird.
of people in the exit video or in the exit interviews have bowl cuts, and then the one who went through the neutering process was I almost wonder if the shaved heads was a sign of those who were neutered,
yes,
and the rest were the bowl cuts, because I feel like most of the female members had bowl cuts.
Yes, and we'll get into that in a second when I play.
You can't really sew it shut.
So the followers were expected to be in sync about even the most mundane things. Survivor Michael Conyers said, everything was designed to be an exact duplicate. You not to come up with, well, I'm going to make the pancakes this big. The mixture was size and how long you cooked for on one side and how much the burner was on, how many a person got, how the syrup was poured on it. Everything was to a T. They had, like, which is fucking crazy. Everything you did, even small mundane things like making pancakes, was literally set up where everything had to be exact duplicate.
Well, that's one of the other things that separates Heaven's Gate from, say, Jonestown or Waco, is that Waco and Jonestown had a very George Orwell Animal Farm, all animals are equal, some animals are more equal than others vibe about it. Whereas Heaven's Gate really did seem to be the, apart from T and Doe, everyone is on, and good Lord. For all the listeners out there that aren't watching this right now, Tom has gone through his entire mixing bowl of gin, and oh no, there's a splash left in there.
There's enough for one more drink.
Pour it in your butt. God damn it! You
just Steve-O.
Fuck. What the hell was where was I at? You just fucked my train of thought, you son of a bitch. Heaven's Gate really did seem to separate themselves from other cults in many ways. One of which being they practiced the equality amongst members. It's like T and Doe were more just the teachers, but I don't think it was like T and Doe get bigger pancakes than everybody else. I'm sure they, as attempting to live their truth, air quotes, truth, they were in solidarity with the rest of the members.
So you want to hear this
Gate.
creepy member talk about his castration?
Yes, I do. I listened to this earlier.
Some may say, well, boy, it's quite a irreversible step. And I just wanted to say that I'm familiar with irreversible steps, and tell you what, I don't know if you remember Doe talking about that some students had proven to him that they desired to have their vehicles neutered, and I'm one of those students that did that. And I can't tell you how free that has made me feel. I've been here long enough from the time I had that operation to know the freedom that it offers me.
You are
Why does he
conditioned.
look like he has earbuds in?
Does it?
Yeah, it looks like he has like headphones in his ears. I don't know if his ears are just weird and the lighting is off, but it looks like he has like two little plugs in his ears.
Some may say, well, boy, it's quite a...
No, his ears are just fucked.
Okay. But yeah, that dude is the fucking stereotypical cartoon or caricature of a eunuch. Like, that's what he looks like. He looks like a eunuch.
Yeah,
like he should be working in some harem somewhere for some sultan.
I know.
So I can't have sex with the ladies because I have no balls. But occasionally they make me, tongue punch their no hole.
Okay, castration. Okay, is a good word to use for what they did. But saying you were neutered is strange.
I think because they want to put it in a much more clinical term. That's why they're using neutered, because they view their bodies much more as like, when they went there, it would be like the same thing as, well, I'm going to go have a restrictor plate put in my car because my car goes too fast and I can't be trusted to control my car. Yeah. So I need to have something that stops me from being able to go too fast.
Supposedly it was Applewhite to resist his gay urges.
Applewhite was the third person that underwent the procedure, though, and his was botched horribly.
They went to Mexico. They went to Mexico to get their balls cut off. You know how many people go to Mexico
for elective surgeries? That is a rich American tradition. Okay?
So crazy.
That was the place that you went in the 50s to get a sex change operation.
Yeah,
so
and it did not turn out that
surgery.
well.
No, it generally didn't, but it's Mexico. No disparaging to Mexicans, to Mexico itself. Much love for the place, but I don't know that it's known for its hygienic hospital
There's
conditions.
some stuff I want to talk to you about off air. We'll have to get into it eventually. But it's just like, now I have this crazy little dog, right? And the neutering might help his craziness calm down. But also part of me has this whole thing of like, this whole neutering of dogs is like you're cutting off some of their essentially their testosterone and stuff, and it is.
Yeah.
Is it bad? But a lot of people do it, but it's just like, has that just become the norm? It's just the whole idea of the same thing where what my views are on certain shots that you get. Like, do you need, like in the Anthony Fauci book, just to weirdly bring this up, do you really need 69 shots before you're 18? Because that's all of them. If you go along with all of them, it's like 69. Do you really need all that shit?
I don't think they're all mandatory.
No, they're not. They're not. But if
Canada,
you would go through all of them in the States, it's 69 by the time you're 18.
Right, but what I'm saying is that I don't think those are all mandatory.
They're not.
A good portion of them are mandatory, because it's like, if you're going to go to public school, you have to have your TB, you have to have your mumps, you have to have your rubella,
That's why I'm homeschooling my kids.
Good luck.
I know, but that's my view. I'm going to find a place. That's just my view.
No,
I have no
I
specific
if you're
people.
independently wealthy and you have enough money to sustain it and you can hire tutors and stuff for your kids, by all means do it, as long as you have other things set up so your kids can get the socialization, which is one of the biggest parts that you get. One of the biggest things you get from school is learning how to act like a person around other people.
No, I know, and that's what my girlfriend's point is. I guess my fiance.
Your fiance's point.
Yeah, and that's that. That we've talked about not getting our kids any shots at all. Just to weirdly bring this up because it's kind of culty in my opinion. And I know there's difference of opinion on that. But I know people that don't give those to their kids, and their kids never get fucking sick. Like never get sick, and they're like their intelligence level seems higher than other kids. And I'm not saying it's because of that, but I've said that story, but I know a teacher specifically knows her kid changed after 3 years old. So it isn't, that's why it just got brought up that it's just interesting how people go along with these medical procedures, because essentially you get conditioned to believe that, well, this is the way everyone else is doing this. So it is interesting. It's
what's the one common thing we've learned about health? There is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all approach to health. So saying that every single and I will agree with you that I'm sure, and even like, obviously being as close to the border as I am, I get Canadian radio stations. And one of the ones that I listen to is Jazz FM. And, there was I believe it was a Pfizer or a Moderna advertisement that came on, and at the very ass end of it, it hit the no vaccine is 100% safe, and there are side effects that can occur. And it's like, well, that's a staunch fucking turn that you've taken from the last 2 years.
I know, it's the whole thing of like, take this pill. If you have Alzheimer's, you can take this pill to help your memory, but you have constant diarrhea. You have headaches. Your menstrual cycle might change. It's just like these list of things, and how pharmaceutical companies were allowed to essentially take over advertisement, which in Canada, United States, and a couple places in the UK are the only places on Earth that allow advertisement from big pharma. And there's a lot of places that actually don't. Russia doesn't.
Most country, but Russia is very much like. Remember, Russia is also very much under the control of the Orthodox Church right now. Yeah, or under, not the control, but the influence, because Putin is very pro-Eastern Orthodoxy. And the Eastern Orthodox are hardcore in their beliefs. I'm not going to disparage them. I'm not going to disparage their ideas, because I respect how hardcore they are in their beliefs. But in the same breath, I'm just like, don't push it on me, and I have no problem with you. But you start showing up and trying to crusade, I'm gonna cut you down.
Yeah, and that's why I keep saying, we're gonna get into different things when it comes to certain episodes, and there's some fans out there that's like, stay on topic, but there is people out there that enjoy our back and forth when we get into certain topics and just certain thoughts come to our mind. And all I'm saying is that we love everybody, and that your choices are your choices. It's just, we should have freedom of choice when it comes to anything in this lifetime. And if it has negative consequences, it can have negative consequences on both sides. On both sides of it, it could be negative. If you get something, you could have a negative impact. If you don't get something, it could have a negative impact. So it is about freedom of choice, in my opinion, on everything.
Informed consent should be the way people make their decisions, not 100%. On social pressure, peer pressure, coercion, or coercion.
Yes. So Michael Conyers, an early recruit, said that the appeal of Applewhite Nettles' message was in how they were talking to like his Christian heritage, but in modern update, like it was updated. It was in this way that
it's in modern language versus it being in the old English, which is inaccessible for most people, especially people that are coming around in the era of the birth of tech. Yeah. The birth of the tech boom, when everything's going to start getting faster and more instantaneous, and like take shit, for example, like that we take for granted now. For everybody out there that enjoys their pornography and is old enough to remember having to wait for the page to load.
Yeah, I've told that story, right?
That's a nude.
The first time I ever came was to a picture of, as weird as it is, Madonna naked, because she was many times naked. When I was a kid, I know. I had a fascination, and I don't care about saying this, of seeing celebrities naked, because they were like, you knew them, you saw them on television and stuff. So to see them naked was like, oh. And when I was like, I don't know, it's like 10 or I could have been fucking 9. I don't know. It's when the internet was first like really blowing up. I remember this like loading of this picture of Madonna nude, and she's not even that attractive. It was just that it was
She's really not.
I know, and it was just like, it was the times, and the internet was the wild, wild west, and I enjoy watching porn. I do think it fucked with my psyche when I was young, because I grew up in the internet age.
Same.
I do think
I would say unrestricted access to porn at a developmental age will skew your view of sexuality in general. I 100% agree with that. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think that people should not have access to porn at all, but I think that, maybe.
Well, the government in 2001
age where you can't moderate yourself.
Yes.
Then you probably shouldn't have
really bad.
Unfettered access to it.
So they have, like I've said this before, the government had access to able to supposedly take down all the porn internet. Supposedly they were able to do this in 2001, and they chose not to because it was a freedom of liberty. And when I think it was when some country got liberated, I think it was there's some country that got liberated in the last, 10 years or something.
I know what you're talking about. And they said they broadcast porn on the TV to let them know they were free.
You are free. You can watch sex. It's so strange to me, but it can mess.
You don't have to watch the farm animals fuck anymore to get off.
And I mentioned too Necro. Look up the rapper Necro. I was listening to this shit when I was like 14. He has a whole album called The Sexorcist. It skewed my image of essentially how to treat women at the time when I was a young teenager. I was like going from one girl to the next and not caring. And that's what I'm saying. Be careful.
Sure, teenage boys do. What the fuck are you talking about?
Be careful what the internet can do.
It's not anyone's fault other than your hormones, my dude.
Yeah, be careful what the internet can do to you. So,
but back on topic.
Yes. So, and for example, when talking about like how they do, this Christian heritage and them doing a modern approach to it, Heaven's Gates apparently taught that Mary was impregnated by being taken in a spacecraft. I don't know. Maybe I did
that
say
goes into what we were talking about how he believes that consciousness entered Jesus when he was baptized. That the person who was born was not the divine person, but rather the consciousness was the essence of the divine. So what I was wondering about that, because I didn't find anything, is that how does the virgin birth even factor into that?
Yeah, and
it's going buffet style from Christianity and New Age movements where you're like, I like this. I like this.
I know, and it's taking everything, and that's why there is this belief that, maybe that is correct in some fashion, because I've heard stories of people that had encounters with reptilians. There's one specific person, God, what's her name? God damn it, what's her name? She has a bunch of weird YouTube videos where she's sitting in her house, and you can hear, like, chickens cawing and stuff like that. She lives in this backwoods kind of place. And she described how she believes she was pregnant, she felt it, and that all of a sudden it was taken away from her. And that there's this theory that aliens impregnate people in their dreams or in they're in sleep when they're unconscious. And this is a weird one, and that they end up impregnating them and then they let the seed grow to a certain extent, and then they take that seed away from you, and so they can do it in their fucking laboratories up on some space station. And this is where obviously they're getting some of this info too.
Right.
The way that thought process of like, well, that could be possible.
That goes back to the old incubi succubi myth. So,
yeah, it's interesting. So, Michael kind of explains now, as unbelievable as that sounds, that was an answer that was better than just the plain virgin birth. It was technical. It had physicality to it, which I understand. That it's like a way of explaining things. And I've always said this too. I was like, the idea of aliens does explain everything. It does. If you can connect it to absolutely everything. David Icke does to an extent, but like this idea that everything is connected through aliens intervening, which it may not be true, but it sounds nice. It sounds like
you can use it to fill in the holes in a lot of stories, but I mean, you can do that with anything too. You can be like, there's a race of bug people that actually live under the earth, and they come up and they've been helping mankind throughout all these times. And the reason that the pyramids were built is because you had 5,000 beetle people that were pushing these boulders, and it was nothing for them because they're used to pushing 5,000 times their own weight. And if they're the size of humans, then they can push even more than that.
I don't know. I think there is insecticides. My point. I think there's aliens of every race and being.
See, I was just talking off the cuff. Like, I've never read anything about that. I was just making that shit up.
It's true. There's many It's funny because there's theories of that too. So the problem was that the cult was operating on a clock. Followers believed that if they stayed on Earth long enough, they would face the recycling and the destruction of Earth as a planet would be wiped clean. And this is what if I watched fucking Applewhite's his 2-hour initiative tapes. He says the same shit over and over again.
Did you watch his 2-hour exit statement?
No, is that part of his the initiative?
No,
tapes? I don't think so.
No, it's different, but it's still an hour and 57 minutes long. And I got like 10 minutes into it and was like, no.
He says the same thing over and over again. He does. He repeats himself.
He repeats himself ad nauseum.
At first, Nettles and Applewhite were convinced it wouldn't come to that. After all, a spaceship run by the Tila, the beings, was supposed to arrive for them before the apocalypse. So they're like, we're good. It's the rapture idea. So, but what it came to in the end.
Every doomsday cult makes the same mistake. You make a doomsday date at way too close of an interval. Say it's going to happen 4,000 years from now. But also, I guess the point of that being, if you say it's going to happen 4,000 years from now, who's going to take you seriously? They're going to be like, that's somebody else's problem. I don't care.
So fate, however, threw a wrench in their plans when Bonnie Nettle died of cancer in 1985. Her death was a severe blow to Applewhite, not only emotionally, but philosophically. He fucking probably lost his mind.
He has to revamp his own system, but that gives credence to him believing in his own ideas.
I don't have my peep anymore. Oh, what am I going to do? Now you're the lone survivor. You're the lone cult fucking leader.
On a human level, you can empathize with the dude because that was his best friend, and he, that was his confidant. And it's often spoken about whether this is something that was rewritten later for people to for Applewhite to kind of shift the blame of everything onto Nettles.
Yes.
But it really did seem like she was the one guiding him for the longest time. Like he looked to her, for idea and inspiration.
Without her, he probably was lost.
We know as a gay stereotype that gay men have very complicated relationships with their mothers. Oftentimes.
Yes. Yeah.
Oftentimes. And it's a stereotype. It's not always true. It's not, the strict requirement, but it's more common than most people in my community would ever admit.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And for all the things I've been through and seen in my life, it does make a lot of sense too. Because I was a fucking emo kid. I grew up with a lot of friends that were bi and gay and stuff like that. And, some of them got essentially fucked up by the way their parents thought about them and their decisions and stuff like that too. Fucks people up.
Well, that just comes with the natural thing of being a teenager in the Western world, is that you have the freedom to rebel, and you're going to in whatever way is going to piss your parents off most.
Yep, I've been trying to wake my mom up to the fact that the government is fucking evil for fucking 18 years, maybe? 17 years?
Oh, Thomas, you and your conspiracy theories. It's not a base, Mom! The government's poisoning us!
Reptilians exist! I was going off about her on reptilians when I was like 16. So Nettles' death had a potentially to call in question a number of the cult's teachings. Perhaps the most pressing is, why did she die before the Tila came to pick them up? Why was she dead before that? It's like, why?
Well, they found a way to explain it away, too, almost as though, like in a very Jesus way, I go now to prepare a place for you.
Yeah.
Sort of thing where it's like, we're going to go see T. And I think that might have been a selling point for a lot of the members.
And they do
saying,
get
we're
to
going
that,
to go rejoin T. T is waiting for us on this ship. It's like, she told them where to find us, and
Applewhite's
we must
alone.
go.
Applewhite's alone. He's like, you were my mustache. You were you enabled me to hide my gayness because you were a female.
Did you just change the word beard for mustache?
Oh, it is beard. Oh, god damn it.
Beard, yeah.
Let me redo that.
But you know what?
He's sitting alone. He's like, you were my beard. You enabled me to hide my gayness. And now you're gone. And the closet has opened again.
And this closet is full of leather and big fun toys and big strapping burly men wearing harnesses and
Got a question. Yeah. You I don't know, it's just a fucking random question. Are you a twink or a bear guy? if you were to choose? Twink?
No.
Bear then. Like, what you prefer?
Been with one twink who was like 5 years younger than me, and was one of my dream lays for the longest time, which was this super weird skinny goth kid that fucking or goth dude. I shouldn't say fucking kid. That makes it sound stupid. We were both younger. But yeah, this goth dude that was into like a lot of the same shit that I was into, but the sex was weird, and it was like, it's fine.
See, that's why me and Billy always joke that we'd be the perfect couple to go to a gay bar, because I'm the bear, I have a fucking hairy ass chest, and then fucking
join the club.
I know, and then Billy's like a hairless twink.
Billy looks like he should be a fucking twink. Yeah, no, I'm much more into to bears and to not skin. Like, so I've
had buddies say like, if you went to a gay bar, guys would be all over you. And I'm
they would. Because you're well groomed, you're well put together, you're funny, and you're silly. You would absolutely fucking you'd clean house, and I'd be sitting in the corner all angry.
No, we gotta do that. We gotta do that when it is go drinking, go do like a drag show.
Nobody wants otters anymore, man. You guys just want cubs. I hate all of you. Fuck you.
If me and Chelsea ever come down to Buffalo, we'll have to do that and go to like a drag show. As much as like I'm iffy about some of the I'm not saying all, some of the trans movement stuff. It would be funny to go to a drag show.
Trans lives matter, Tom.
I know. I'm not saying they don't. I'm saying it's
yes, you are, you bigot. No,
I'm saying it's an in-between. It's a weird fucking thing. Also, for the video that you posted about the trucker convoy, because we've mentioned this a couple times, going through Buffalo, there's many people on TikTok, when I posted, I get thousands of views, that were like, the in-betweens. People were killing themselves loving that shit. Fellas, ladies, in-betweens.
Yeah.
Great
Way
stuff.
to go, fellas and ladies and... in betweens,
like great.
I meant it. It was heartfelt. It wasn't like maybe look in betweens. I'm just like, yeah, fuck it, all of you,
all of you.
I love you from the bottom of my heart. Go give that piece of shit hell.
Yep. So
that's my thing, man.
No.
I just want people to fucking be free.
Me too.
I just want people to stand up to oppression wherever it stands, wherever it rears its
always
disgusting
tell
ugly
me
head.
you're going to the fucking bar on Fridays. Always like, damn, like if this shit ends and we can put an end to this stuff where there's no discrimination and stuff like that. That I had the ability to come to Buffalo and we can actually hang out. Probably every 2 or 3 months. That's why
you better just take a couple days off, and I'll take a couple days off, and we'll have a long weekend. You just crash on my couch, and we'll just go around Buffalo being stupid. I'll take you to the American side of the falls, and you'll be like, "This is terrible.
Terrible.
Why aren't we going to Clifton Hill right now?"
And we can go to Clifton Hill. That's why I want this shit to end. I'm ready for freedom. I'm ready for not discriminate. I'm not gonna get fucking. I'm never getting the shot. I don't want to, especially get fucking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just to fucking fit with their narrative. I'm done with this bullshit. I want to leave. So is everybody else. So it was then that Applewhite began to rely very heavily on one particular strain of the cult's beliefs. Human bodies were merely vessels or vehicles that were carried them on to the journey and could be abandoned when they were ready to ascend to the next level. I do have belief in that. I did a whole video on TikTok about my views on abortion. And how I were like to people like, this is a vessel for all those religious people that are like, you're killing a baby, you're killing a soul. It doesn't make fucking sense, because if you kill that fucking cell or that baby or whatever you want to see it as, this life, why would you think that soul is gonna die and stay in that dead baby? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
No.
Especially as a religious person, it doesn't make sense.
Well, the religious thing is, so the reason that that's such a big thing is because the whole Catholic idea of original sin. That anytime a penis goes into a vagina, it carries on original sin. Original sin's a fucking biblical STD, which is dumb as fuck.
That's my point, that this is a vessel. This is a vehicle. They can, when you die, you lose like 34 grams of whatever weight or something.
No, it's not 34 grams. It's allegedly 7 grams, and I don't even know if that's real. That might be bullshit, too.
I don't know. You have a soul. That's one thing I know.
You lose 3 pounds because you shit yourself.
You remember the Iron Giant? Okay? You have a soul.
Are you referencing a children's movie?
I love that movie.
Right now?
Nettles and Applewhite said...
I'm not a gun.
Yeah, well, actually, that movie makes me cry, man. I love that movie.
That movie is a tearjerker, for sure.
So
I was going to say, that movie, like, you all right, bro? Yeah, I'm just rolling a joint, man. I chopping onions earlier, and I just... shut up! Shut the fuck up!
So, Nettles and Applewhite said... Nettles, Applewhite said, had left her body and returned amongst the Tila beings. Of course he did. Anyway, you spin it. But he apparently still had work to do on the he still had the work to do on this planet, this existence, this plane of existence, and would finish out their project and guide the cult members to meet her, like you said. And it was subtle but important shifts in the cult's ideology, and would have far-reaching and dangerous consequences. So you ready to get into the mass suicide?
Oh, yeah. Tom, that wasn't the mass suicide. It was the exiting of the vehicles. And I would appreciate it if you would show them some respect and dignity and give them some applesauce and some phenobarbital and some booze and let them get a couple plastic bags. And
this is intense. So members of the Heaven's Gates believe that suicide was wrong, but their definition of suicide was far different from the traditional one. They believe the true meaning of suicide was turning against the next level when it was being offered to them. Tragically, this fatal offer was made in March 1997.
I've actually got the page's official stance against suicide if you'd like me to read it.
Do that up. Let's do it.
Like, directly off the Heaven's Gate website. So,
sweet.
Our position against suicide. We know that it is only while we are in these physical vehicles, bodies, that we can learn the lessons needed to complete our own individual transition, as well as to complete our task of offering the kingdom of heaven of the civilization to one last time. We take good care of our vehicles so that they can function well for us in this task, and we try to protect them from any harm. We fully desire, expect, and look forward to boarding a spacecraft from the next level very soon, in our physical bodies. There is no doubt in our mind that our being picked up is inevitable in the very near future. But what happens between now and then is the big question. We are keenly aware of several possibilities. It could happen that before that spacecraft comes, one or more of us could lose our physical vehicles due to recall, accident, or at the hands of some irate individual. We do not anticipate recall is a factory. We do not anticipate this, but it is possible. Another possibility is that because of the position we take in our information, we could find so much disfavor with the powers that control this world that there could be attempts to incarcerate us or subject us to some sort of psychological or physical torture, such as occurred at both Ruby Ridge and Waco.
Funny.
That influenced them heavily was Ruby Ridge and Waco. It has always been our way to examine all possibilities and be mentally prepared for whatever may come our way. For example, consider what happened at Masada around 73 AD. A devout Jewish sect, after holding out against a siege by the Romans to the best of their ability, and seeing that the murder, rape, and torture of their community was inevitable, determined that it was permissible for them to evacuate their bodies by a more dignified and less agonizing method. We have thoroughly discussed this topic of willful exit of the body under such conditions, and have mentally prepared ourselves for this possibility, as can be seen in a few of our statements. However, this act certainly does not need serious consideration at this time, and hopefully will not in the future. The true meaning of suicide is to turn against the next level when it is being offered. In these last days, we are focused on two primary tasks. One, of making the last attempt at telling the truth about how the next level may be entered, our last effort at offering to individuals of this civilization the way to avoid suicide. And two, taking advantage of the rare opportunity we have each day to work individually on our personal overcoming and change in preparation for entering the kingdom of heaven.
It's not clear exactly whether Applewhite got the idea that there was a UFO traveling behind Hale-Bopp, or the brilliant comet was forthcoming appearance was kind of being forecast by the excited press. So some blame Art Bell. Gotta love him. Oh, I love Art Bell.
So that was in the book that I was reading as well. It wasn't just Art Bell, but they blamed Art Bell, they blamed Bill Cooper, they blamed everyone in the conspiracy community, much in the same way that Alex Jones was blamed for the dude that showed up for the Pizzagate bullshit, which is hilarious for all of you that don't know the building that supposedly happened and doesn't have a basement.
So and it bring up like Art Bell and strange conspiracy theories and stuff like that. I just got 1984. I read it when I was like 15. It's been a long time. I read it actually over the internet, so I got an actual copy of it. But you know what I've skimmed through on the internet, but actually never had a physical copy of is Behold the Pale Horse, which I'm definitely getting that for my collection because I have a huge collection of books. Like there's a right over there. For the YouTube listeners there and the Twitch listeners, I have a huge collection of books. I have a massive, I have a library literally of books. Yes, that's the copy I want because that's fucking sick. Anton has a copy. I want to
shout out to my brother for that copy.
I want to read through all that shit. So obviously our bell.
Hefty.
Yes, the conspiracy theorist and radio show host behind the popular program Coast to Coast AM, along with obviously George Norrie, for publicizing.
No, fuck George Norrie. George Norrie wasn't even on there at that point in time. It's Art Bell or nothing.
For publicizing,
consider that maybe it's Catholic angels instead of aliens.
True.
Fuck you, Norrie.
The publicization and the delusion that there was maybe a companion object in the shadow of Hale-Bopp. It was hard to see how Bell could have anticipated what obviously increasingly Warren the frazzled Applewhite would do with it, obviously with this information. But in 1996, members of T's clan began renting a large home, which they called the Monastery. 9,200 square feet mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California.
$7,000 a month to rent this in the mid-90s.
Holy fuck. That's a fucking expensive.
Yep. Let me translate that for inflation. Please keep going.
Yeah, on March 19th or the 20th, Marshall Applewhite taped himself in Doe's final exit. Speaking of mass suicide, the only way to evacuate this Earth, after asserting that the spacecraft was trailing Comet Hale-Bopp, that in this event would represent the closure of Heaven's Gates. Applewhite pursued 38 followers to prepare for the ritual suicide so their souls could aboard the supposed craft.
You ready for it?
Yes.
How much do you think $7,000 in 1992 is worth today?
Inflation. 30 grand?
That's way too high.
I was going to say 20 originally, but I was like, maybe I have to go higher.
$13,222.
Okay, that's not fucking...
14 grand a month to rent this fucking house.
Oh,
essentially.
Do with inflation. I don't know. Canadian inflation is, I think, worse. But thanks to true don't. But so Applewhite believed that after their deaths and the unidentified flying object, the UFO, would take their souls to another level of existence above human, which he described as being both physical and spiritual. The preparations. Preparation H. You named it Preparation H? Is that what you did?
Yeah, preparations A through J were a complete and utter failure.
The preparation.
We now have Preparation H.
The preparation included each member's videotaping a farewell message, which is pretty deep if you watch those. Did you watch them all? I watched clips of it. It's fucking long.
For the exit videos?
Yeah.
I watched most of them.
It's crazy.
I think I had like 15 to 20 minutes left in the actual video itself.
So the group initially attempted the castration by one of the members, a former nurse, performed the castrations, but the initial attempt was very unsuccessful, which is crazy. It almost resulted in the patient's death and caused at least one member to leave Heaven's Gates cult. So they had to, I think they had to be hospitalized, right?
Applewhite almost died.
Yes.
From his castration. A couple of them, it was more or less okay with minimal complications, but Applewhite straight up almost died. And I guess there's a lot of reports from members that were talking about how after the castration, he was like, oh, this is a terrible idea. I don't know why we did this. This was really bad. I made a mistake. And they're like, no, it's okay. Which I think that, if anything, just tightened and strengthened the resolve of the team members, where they're like, even Doe has a moment of weakness. So our moments of weakness should not be considered, a unforgivable sin against the kingdom of heaven.
How do you think they did it? How do you do a castration?
What do you mean how you do it? It would be the same thing. You probably go in, you open the sack, you crimp anything that's going to bleed out, you snip it, you cauterize it, and it's done.
I don't like it. I don't like anything. I don't like, as weird as it is, I know this is a vessel, I don't like thinking about what goes on inside my body. It trips me out.
Yeah, I can watch horror movies all day, every day. Don't give a fuck. But if I have to watch actual documentation of medical footage, I'm like, I'm not.
Me
I'm
too.
okay with this.
Every castration that followed his initial one was done in a hospital. To kill themselves, members took, how do you say this again? Phenobarbital mixed with applesauce or pudding. Come on.
It wasn't pudding. So in the book where they got the inspiration for it, a man, it was a doctor that was basically explaining how people with terminal illnesses can take their lives with dignity. And he said the best, most efficient, least painful, like most peaceful way to go about it would be to take a bunch of phenobarbital, crush it up, mix it in with pudding, eat the pudding, drink a bunch of booze to amplify the effect, put a plastic bag around your head, and as you slowly drift off to sleep, you will then asphyxiate while you have the bag around your head.
So wait, phenobarbital is the same shit that they do to clean hair products or hair combs and stuff in barbershops, is it not?
No,
Is it not?
No, it's not. No, phenobarbital is like sleeping pills. I believe it's a barbiturate, which has more or less been banned.
Isn't there something?
Barbicide. Barbicide is a shit that's
poisonous.
Used.
You can drink it and kill yourself.
Yeah, but I'm assuming that's going to basically be the equivalent of drinking bleach. That ain't going to be peaceful for anyone. No. That's going to be burning your organs on the way down. Whereas phenobarbital and alcohol slows your breathing, slows your heart rate, and just eventually puts you to sleep. And then once that shit's all super slow and you're already unconscious, the plastic bag finishes the job and takes away all the guesswork.
And now in Sweden, you can kill yourself in a fucking tube.
In a pod. they raised the nitrogen levels to a point. And you got to wonder, is it painful or is it painless? Which I honestly think that in my beliefs of freedom, you should have the right to take your life should you desire.
I agree, and that's another episode for another day. But essentially, I believe, my whole belief is you chose to come here. I do believe that. I believe in that idea that you choose your parents, you choose your birthday. It represents your personality on this physical plane. Just my theories. And that I've said this since I was a kid, a teenager. If you chose to come here, I think you can choose when to leave. That's your choice. It might affect people negatively on this physical plane, but either way, you have a choice if you really find this existence that horrible, because I do believe you, and I'm not fucking promoting this suicide whatsoever at all, because I was a suicidal kid when I was like 12 and 13, and I tried to hang myself, which I don't care about saying, because I was a crazy kid, and my mom took away my horror movies, and it made me depressed, and I joke about this because I was just in this crazy mind. I had all these VHSs collected of fucking Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, to fucking Friday the 13th. I loved horror movies. She thought they were obviously impacting me negatively. So I fucking tried to hang myself, more or less for attention. I was a kid. I didn't know what I was doing. But I do have that belief that if you choose to come here, you can choose when to leave.
I agree. I don't think that a suicidal teenager should be allowed to take themselves out. No. I think if anything, they should that life should be preserved for as long as possible while their brains are still developing, because there's always hope.
Yes.
For any of you younger listeners out there that are listening and struggling with that, know that you're not alone.
You're not alone.
Most of us here at Strange Brew have, well, I can't speak for most of us, but Tom and I have both definitely dealt with the dark.
And when Juan was that nerdy
of our brain
kid,
that tells us that we're
Juan
worthless.
definitely had the thoughts of suicide.
I'm not going into mine or anything or my acts on that either, but it to paraphrase a really odd movement that I semi-support and semi-don't because of the people involved with it, but it gets better. It does in many ways. It gets better if you make it get better, but you have to take the initiative and be like, you have to do the introspection and do the long dark tea time of the soul and figure out what is it that you want from life, and how do you go about. Mushrooms help. Mushrooms help way more than just drinking.
Yeah, I know.
Drinking don't help.
Yeah, next month I've already talked to my fiance, but I want to start microdosing mushrooms, especially because I'm pretty positive person, but I do have certain anger issues when it comes to things, and the way that the whole COVID bullshit has been going on, it has irked me to my core, the people that don't see what's really actually happening, and it has weighed on my mental health because I constantly talk about it and I constantly research it, where the point where it's just like, I got to lay off it a bit and I got to take care of my mental health. And I do think mushrooms is a way for you to look outside of yourself and look in deeply of who you really are.
It can certainly cause a break for an unstable individual, or if somebody's having serious paranoid delusions, it could amplify them It's less likely to amplify them than booze.
Yes.
I will say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not for everybody, but for certain people, it has great benefits.
Yes. So to kill themselves, the phenobarbital,
alcohol, which is crazy because they were a strict part of their thing. And sorry for cutting you off. Yeah. Part of their thing was adherence to sobriety. Now, along with abstinence, they were a sober cult.
Yes, so they got to go out drunk because they downed it with vodka. But there was rumors about pudding. Can you give me You know what I want. Can you do Cosby telling the members?
I knew you were going to take it there.
Can you tell Cosby to take his members' life?
Okay, everybody, now we're preparing to board the Coca-Cola Kodak film spaceship. I want you all to take your Jello pudding cups with the phenobarbital inside of them, and I want you to go take a nice sleepy and then I got a couple of the drinks with the Spanish fly, and they got some booze in them as well. It'll help you all transition peacefully to the next level, and just leave your pants unbuttoned a little bit, because the aliens are going to need a hand taking your pants off. And, it's going to be right before you pass away, but the aliens are going to, and the aliens are going to give you a brief examination before we board the ship.
So additionally, obviously, they secured plastic bags around their heads after ingesting the mixture to induce asphyxiation. So all 39 were dressed in identical black shirts, sweatpants, and brand new white Nikes.
You think one of them, as they were dying, would just like, as they're asphyxiating, they just get a raging hard on, and they're like, son of a bitch. I could have been doing this the whole time. I discovered my kink. Bro, you know how expensive a pair of Nike Decades is on eBay right now?
How much?
Like $5,000.
I could imagine, man. Nikes get like Jordan's Nikes too and stuff.
They re-released the Decade at one point in time, and it was like, bro, it's not bad taste, but I don't wear Nikes. I wear Adidas. So I kind of want a pair of Nike Decades.
I actually I own Adidas. I have like 3 different pairs of Adidas.
Bro, I'm fucking head to toe in 3 stripes right now.
I know
don't
you
even play.
Are. And I was trying to get my Adidas outfit. I don't know where it is. It's got to be buried in my closet.
It's my full sleeve tracksuit.
Yes, I have a tracksuit.
Jar of mayonnaise in my vodka.
I do have a black tracksuit, the exact same as yours. Great minds think alike. But yeah,
3 stripes every day.
I do own Jordan Air Ones, so obviously I gotta have those.
Are they black?
Yes.
Are you a straight black pair of Jordans kind of kid?
Yes, 100%.
Of course you are.
So obviously, they're decades of athletic shoes. They wore armbands with Heaven's Gates away team. Just fucking
so the original tracksuits were scrapped. The original idea was scrapped because they wanted that Heaven's Gate away team on them, and they carried with them a $5 bill.
Yep.
3/4 in their pocket, and the reason for that was when they would go out and they would evangelize and attempt to recruit new members, they would always carry that with them, so to make sure that they were never stranded anywhere.
Well, and it says supposedly the quarters in their pockets is a reference to the Huck film, in which it states that the cost $5.75 to ride the tail of the comet to heaven.
How would it cost that much of your head? Like, I doubt that spaceships are gonna be like, do you have bus fare? It's gas, grass, or ass. No one rides for free.
Yeah, and one member, once a member was dead, a living member would arrange the body by removing the plastic bag from a person's head, followed by posing the body laid neatly on its own bed with faces and torsos by a square of purple cloth for privacy.
The shrouds. So there's the reason for the shrouds that they give is 2 things. One, a shroud is a traditional. What happened to that one? Did that dude vomit afterwards?
Which one?
That one. There's the stain on the top.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the shot. Strange. So the alignment.
So the shrouds are a traditional death shroud. Is a part of culture. It has been since forever. Purple is because that was apparently Bonnie Nettles' favorite color.
Yeah.
All of their as you can see right here, all of their suitcases and bags are packed.
Yep.
And
ready to go.
Looks like,
look at the
that looks like vomit. I'm willing to bet that there was some discharge for some of them. Their
100%.
bodies tried to reject it, and they asphyxiated on it. But
that's why they covered them up. It probably looked
other.
disgusting.
Well, here's the thing. So those are probably the ones that went at the end. Those are probably the final 9 that have the stuff on them, because they went 15 the first day, 15 the second day, 9 the last day.
So
and I believe dough was a part of the second wave, not the third wave.
Yeah, so the identical, so they put this cloth over the face, and the identical clothing was used as a uniform for the mass suicide to represent unity. Whilst the Nike decades were chosen because the group got a good deal on the shoes. Yep. Literally.
And the house was immaculate. So they cleaned the house. They made sure all of their stuff was in order. They had all of their identification on them for easy identification of the vehicles. It's one of the things that separates Heaven's Gate from so many other cults, is that there was no violence that precipitated the change of the suicides. It was simply them just saying, okay, fucking ship's here. It's time to go. They were waiting for their ride the whole time.
Yes. And so Applewhite was a fan of Nikes, I guess. Of course he was. And therefore everyone was expected to wear and like Nikes within the groups. But you know what? I like Adidas.
Adidas!
So, and Heaven's Gates also saying within the group, it was just do it. Just do it. Oh
my God.
Okay, I was thinking, for the fans, all right, I wanted to create a shirt with Applewhite from the initiative videos and having him, just do it underneath. I don't know if you guys rep that shit, but I definitely would.
I would have it on a coffee mug.
Yeah.
Give me that.
So they pronounced they pronounced do as dough to reflect Applewhite's nickname. So stupid. Just do it.
Just do it.
Fucking dumb as shit.
Fucking kill yourself for that pun. Oh, wait.
Oh, so the 93, or fucking 93, the 30, there's my fucking dyslexia.
Goddamn numerical dyslexia.
The 39 people, 21 women, 18 men between the ages of 26 and 72 are believed to have died in 3 groups over the 3 days, as you mentioned.
Imagine if they just would have been a sex cult. Everyone could have been filling all them holes.
I know.
All at once.
It's true. Yeah,
21 swinging ladies and 18 strapping healthy men.
Yeah, I could have.
Forget about it.
I know. Forget about it.
Forget about it. I'm not Italian. I shouldn't say that. With the remaining participants cleaning up after each prior group's death, the suicides occurred in groups of 15, 15, and 9 between approximately March 22nd and March 26th. Among the dead was Thomas Nichols, brother of actress Nichelle Nichols, who is best known for her role as Uhura in original Star Trek television show. Man, that's fucking crazy. I didn't know that. That's one of the reasons why they were such rabid fucking Star Trek fans, is because they had a connection to Nichelle Nichols.
So interesting. She's dead now.
No, she's not.
Well, she's not. She's old as fuck, though.
She's old as fuck. Yeah. But her and alleged sex offender George Takei.
Yeah.
Fuck you ultra liberal piece of shit. That was totally unnecessary on my part, but
who gives a shit?
Yeah, so they were the last 2 that were really going around and hawking shit for Star Trek. Like George Takei did commercials for fucking Social Security at one point in time. And Nichelle Nichols is just kind of, she does not look well. I certainly think that she's probably on her way out, but.
So leader Applewhite was the third to last member to die. 2 people remained after him and were the only ones who would be found without bags over their heads. And
so he was day 3 then.
Yes, and not having purple cloths covering their top halves. Before the last of the suicides, similar sets of packages were sent to numerous Heaven Gates affiliatives and former people who were affiliated with the groups and these individuals, and at least one media outlet, the BBC department, responsible for Louis Turek's Weird Weekends, for which Heaven's Gates had earlier declined precipitation. Participation,
you cringy son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm cringy as shit, according to one dude. But that's what happens when you have fucking 6 gin and tonics during an episode. But that they obviously, this person was a part of it for a bit. There was many people that left. But amongst in the list of recipients was Rio D'Angelo. The package for D'Angelo received on the evening of March 25th, as other packages were sent, had contained 2 VHS tapes, one of Doe's final exit. The others were a farewell message of the group's followers. It also contained a letter stating that that among other things, we have exited our vehicles just as we entered them. Upon informing his boss of the contents of the package, D'Angelo received a ride from him from the Los Angeles to the heaven. Oh, so he got a ride to go to Los Angeles to the Heaven's Gates home in Rancho Santa Fe, so he could verify the letter. So he actually left to go there once he got the letter.
Yeah, a couple of their bits pertaining to the suicide, at least one of the scriptures off of their, again, the Heaven's Gate webpage is, therefore doth my Father love me, because I lay down my life that I might take it again. No man taketh it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This commandment have I received of my Father, which is John 10:15 through 18. Now, it was compared in a couple things that I had seen and read that basically what they did could be considered a suicide, obviously by human standard terms, but could also be considered a do-it-yourself rapture.
Yes, yeah, it's true. So, and D'Angelo found a back door, initially left unlocked to allow access, used a video camera to record what he had found. After leaving the house, D'Angelo's boss, who had waited outside, encouraged him to make a call to the authorities, alerting them to the discovery. The San Diego County Sheriff's Department received an anonymous tip through a 911 system at 3:15 p.m. on March 26, suggesting that they checked the welfare of the residents days after the suicide. This caller was revealed to be D'Angelo. Caller. Yes, I need to report an anonymous tip. Who do I talk to? Sheriff's Department. Okay, what is this regarding? Regarding what? Caller. This is regarding the mass suicide, and I can give you the address. So, San Diego County 911 call, March 26, 1997, 3:15 p.m. The single deputy who first responded to the call entered the home through a side door, saw 10 bodies, and was nearly overcome by the pungent odor.
Could you imagine how bad that fucking complex stunk? Because if you figure it, the first 2 waves were cleaned up after.
Yes.
So 30 people were cleaned up after, and it was what? It was a week. It was 2 weeks after this had happened that they finally came in.
Yeah.
Decomp starts what? 24 hours after? 48 hours?
The bodies were decomposing in the hot California spring. Disgusting. So
yikes.
After they searched through the house by 2 deputies, found no one alive. Both retreated until a search warrant could be procured. All 39 bodies were ultimately cremated. Everybody dies.
There were autopsies performed, though. That's how they found out about the castration.
Yeah, I gotta check this guy's balls to make sure he's got balls left.
You're a mortician or a coroner, and you're performing. How do these people die? Even though they've left, I'm sure they've left explicit information as to how they did it and what they did. And the coroners are like, okay, so phenobarbital, fucking, they're like, oh, okay, this. And I'm sure the coroner is probably like, these people have read this dude's book.
Yeah.
So, and then you notice when you're doing a full examination of the body, because that's what happens with a full-on autopsy, you're like, something's missing. Why are these sacks empty? Why are they scarred? Yeah. Oh, no. All right, let's cut it open.
So,
no balls.
A little bit of the aftermath. So the Heaven's Gates event was widely publicized in the media as an example of mass suicide. When the news broke of the suicides, their relation to Comet Hale-Bopp and the co-discovery of the comet, Alan Hale was drawn into the story. Hale's phone never stopped ringing the entire day. So
I could imagine.
It was a massive case. And let's just talk about a slight conspiracy that supposedly it may have been ding-ding influenced by the reptilians. Do you know that? Did you hear about this fucking shit, bro?
Well, they believed in the a very similar philosophy that David Icke has, which is the Luciferian reptilians.
Yeah.
Reptile wins.
Reptile wins.
He always
Your
wins.
sound effects are really quiet on my end for some reason.
Reptile wins.
So there's a theory that behind Comet Hale-Bopp, the actual UFO was a reptilian ship. That's what I've heard from my research when I've looked upon this many times. And that when they died, the reptilians exhumed their bodies or their souls and used their souls for their experimental purposes and used their souls as a way of consuming, because they live off of consuming souls the same way we live off of eating cattle.
Yeah, but why would they pick them up in their ship rather than allowing them to be caught in the net that surrounds the Earth and sent back down?
I know, because there is that net. That's why. But I've heard that different theories and stuff like that. One of them is the reptilians showed up and they were like, "Hey, you know what? This is easy pickings. These people are dumb. Let's fucking go." So no, that's what happens. Gates. We covered it in about 2 hours, so that was pretty good. I thought it would have been slightly longer, but the fact that this is one of the craziest cult cases, something I've been interested in talking about for a very long time, and I'm very happy to have done it with Anton. Me and him are going to get into a lot of culty stuff. I'm sure me and Billy will touch on some, but you're more versed of the cult aspects of the things that are going on Earth and stuff like that, and I think you're a little more versed, and, love Billy to death, but he doesn't do the research as deeply. Like I say, Billy goes in blind. Yeah. That's why it's a little more, it's fun. It's fun. Like, Billy goes in blind. It's hilarious most times because he doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
Damaged human psychology has always been a fascination of mine. Just from having to deal with, the psychological medical establishment at a very young age and meeting many people that were truly damaged human beings, and just it raised so many questions to me that when I started looking and started digging, I just became fascinated and couldn't stop digging.
Yeah, 100%. So that was really interesting. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode as we did. And support us by going to www.strangebrewttv.com. We got a new merch site up for everybody. We have new designs coming. We have a really fun design coming. We have a bunch of fun, actually, t-shirt designs coming. There's going to be a couple. It's going to be a lot of fun. So that's how you support us, is buying merch. Like I said it.
Patreon.com. 5-star rate and reviews. 5-star rate and reviews cost you nothing, people.
Yes.
Nothing. If you want to help us out, if you've been listening to us for a while now, go on, punch in those reviews. It helps us reach a much broader audience.
It does.
And at the end of the day, that's the bigger we get, the better we get, the more we're going to be able to sit and dedicate more of our lives into research, because Tom and I are both working schmucks.
Yes.
We have day jobs during the week, and we do all of this in our spare time.
Yeah, 100%. So that's the best way to support us. Also, Patreon, www.patreon.com/strangebrewpodcast. We have a lot of fun stuff coming. There's like live streams that, if you join our Twitch, InvaderDaggett_TTV or strangebrewttv, you can find us on Twitch, where you actually kind of get more or less some access to things earlier on than other people would. But we play ghost hunting games where we, and we stream it, where we sacrifice goats to demons. We have a lot of fun. Yes, Devour's great. We have a lot of fun stuff coming for that. So you can watch it exclusively on Patreon. If you didn't catch it in the week that is up on Twitch, you're able to watch through. And I have already had a couple listeners say they love the game streaming because it's hilarious, especially with Juan screaming.
Making Juan scream like a baby when we're playing Phasma. I fucking love it.
It's great. So you know what? That's how you support us. And we love you all, guys. Honestly, we do. Remember, stay strange.